What is up, Maniacs? My name is Zach. I am the Milly Maker Maniac, and I am beyond excited to be here today. Been working hard getting this MillyMakerManiac.com ready, and I'm so excited to share it with you all. And I am so excited to have an awesome best ball summer and be in front of you guys pretty much now until football season and then throughout the whole season. Game plan is to do a video every day now from now until the season. I'll be doing videos ranging from team by team breakdowns, specifically looking at how all the offseason moves impacted players and how I'm handling them in best ball. We'll be doing a whole bunch of ranking shows. I'll be taking you guys through my rankings, talking about who I like, who I don't like, and why, and what my strategy is within best ball. We'll be doing tons of drafts on here, lots of video content to come. But today I'm going to walk you guys through the brand new MillyMakerManiac.com that is now live, and hope we can get as many of you as possible to become maniacs over time. This is built with the best ball and DFS player in mind. I built this basically for me to use. My whole goal of all of this, I'm trying to make fantasy football my career and my life now. I've dove all in on this and I'm really excited about that. But my goal with my website and all the tools that I'm bringing y'all is to give you the resources and information and tools for you to make your decisions in best ball and DFS. Give you as much information as possible to not just go along with what all the online rankings are saying and what everybody's saying in the different podcasts, but to allow you to have the data, to have the information, and then have the tools to take that and start to use it, use your opinions, use your beliefs about what you think is going to happen week in and week out and throughout the season for best ball, and apply that and hopefully have some big wins. The idea of all of us maniacs getting together is we're degenerates about fantasy football, best ball, and DFS in general. We love talking ball. We genuinely want to win. Like, I'm getting my knee replaced this week. Like, I'm beyond washed. The only thing I have left to compete at, honestly, is fantasy sports. And I love the idea of best ball. You're competing against 12 other people. And I think that I've got more information and more knowledge than the vast majority of drafters out there that gives me an edge. But I want to continue to grow that. And I want to grow a community of us that are really into best ball and really into DFS. One, for just the joy of talking about football and enjoying the game of football. But two, to try to find those edges to where we can start having more of those big wins. If I can't get first place, I want you all to get first place. And I think I've built a lot of tools that y'all are going to find very useful in helping you do exactly that. So without further ado, let's jump into it and look at MillyMakerManiac.com. So this is what you'll see when you log or when you first go to it. But when you sign in, which I'll do here. Okay, we are in. So when you log in, this is what you'll see. Got our days till kickoff, 93 more days of best ball summer. Let's get it. Anytime I'm adding new tools, and I'm building a lot of tools right now, so there'll be more coming to the site, but you'll see updates up here when new things are added. Let's show you what there is to get started. The first thing is my best ball rankings. I have it both for DraftKings and Underdog. I'm updating these all the time. So anytime I make an adjustment, it'll be on here automatically. And you can download the CSVs right from here. And for both DraftKings and Underdog, and drop those right into those sites. And you can draft with the Milly Maker Maniac rankings very easily. Other things that we have in the rankings tab. This is for best ball playoffs. This is based off of the Vegas totals. So in here you can see for team who has the most team points during those 3 weeks of the best ball playoffs. Which you can see here, it's Buffalo, Cincinnati, Rams. Obviously, good offenses are going to be the ones at this point in the season that you're going to see high totals from. And then we have the combined game rank over here for the game total, not just the team totals. So you can use some of this information to look at which teams right now Vegas is saying have the highest likelihood of scoring a lot of points, and we can target them in our best ball drafts. And then you'll also be able to see in this ranking phase where I'm taking stands. We'll have a lot more episodes where I walk through this, but you can see in my top 50, my biggest stand is Zay Flowers. I'm very high on Zay Flowers, and we'll have a ton of him in best ball this year. But have that both for DraftKings and for Underdog. Like I said, we'll use this in a lot of episodes to walk through where I'm making stands at. And we'll have the Discord too. So what I want from you guys is just your opinions. Try to change my mind. I'm not trying to just have takes for the sake of having a take and going viral for doing something against the grain. Like, I have no interest in that. Like, I want to win best ball. And so I want someone to change my mind. I want a piece of information from y'all in the Discord that can help me change my mind and help me draft better. That's the whole point of this, is getting an edge on the field. And I think that community that we'll build is a big part of that. All right. In the research tab, we have one of the most comprehensive stats hubs I've seen out there. Any stat that I can come across, I've got in this for each position, and I have it for multiple years. So in the previous years, you're just going to get primarily the counting stats, but from last year, we have a ton of advanced analytics. You can sort any column, like protection rates, so who was under pressure the most last year. So obviously you have some of the guys that didn't play much that are up there, but then as we get into like the real names, who had good protection from their offensive line and how did that play out? All sorts of different stats. Every single stat is explained up here. Air yards per attempt, whatever you need, you can sort and look for that edge in the stats. They have it for every position. Tons of advanced analytics for each position. And then stats from the last 3 years to look back at what people did. Then we also have our ADP Movers. Each Monday, I'll be going through who the biggest movers are from week to week in both DraftKings and Underdog and ADP. And we can talk through why we think that is and how we're going to handle that moving forward, whether or not we're going to fade that player or go after that player with their movement. This is a really cool tab here. This is the boom game history. So this has gone back throughout guys' entire career. And we have like their 2025 boom games and usable games. So a boom game is that they had 25 plus points as a quarterback, 22 plus points as a running back, 22 plus as wide receiver, and 16 plus as a tight end. Those are boom games. Then we have usable thresholds in here as well. These are DK points, by the way. So we can see like last year, obviously, Christian McCaffrey was the man. He had 12 boom games and 15 usable weeks. He's an absolute stud. But beyond that, I also have in here their boom games per 17 games played. So this takes a lot of the injury history out of it and just like when these guys are on the field, how often do they have boom games? You can sort by that column. You can see Christian McCaffrey, Travis Kelce, Puka Nacua, George Kittle at the top of that list for hitting those boom games. We can see their average boom games per season. That McCaffrey has the most usable games per 17 games each season. This is all information that I think is really relevant. And on anywhere you see a player's name, it will go directly to their player profile if you want to. And those boom games and usable weeks are included there. We've got news. We have where they're currently ranked ADP versus my ranking, their stats from last year. Then we have the advanced analytics, and it's color coded based on other people at their position, how they ranked, what percentile they were. So you can see where Christian McCaffrey separates himself. Obviously, there's a lot of green here, and he was the number one player in fantasy last year for a reason. A lot of advanced analytic. We have game by game stats from everything from last year, as well as their year by year career stats to get a feel for, was last year an outlier or was it what he does? And what we see from him is he either gets hurt and doesn't play much, or he's pretty much RB1. But every single player has a player profile that's very in-depth. We'll look at another tool here in a bit called the player comparison tool, where you can put multiple player profiles side by side and compare stats. Other research items we got in here. I did a 10-season study on stacking. Wanted to see what the most common stacks were. We've got different tiers here. So you can see in a good stack would be a QB that's top 6, tight end that's top 8, and wide receiver that's top 18, running back top 12. So it's like solid, but not incredible. The actual most common 2-player stack is running back and wide receiver. Most people would think it'd be QB and wide receiver, but actually running back, wide receiver is the most common good stack. When we go over to, those are great stacks, maniacal stacks, which is basically top 5%. So top 2 QB, top 2 tight end, and then top 5 running back, or top 5 wide receiver, or top 3 running back. By far, the biggest one there is QB wide receiver for a double stack, triple stack. QB tight end wide receiver is actually the most common, followed by QB running back wide receiver, and then QB wide receiver, which I found very interesting. I would have anticipated that QB wide receiver would be most common, but a lot of data here, a lot of information and percentages about the most common combinations, all information that is very relevant to drafting good best ball teams and building good DFS teams. Highly recommend a deep dive there. Then I wanted to see different point ranges, like week to week. What does it look like for QB1, for QB5, QB12, each position? So this is another 10-year study, score frequency range. Where is it most common for in points for QB1 to be? And we can see pretty dramatically, it's in between 40 and 30 points is the vast majority. It's not that common, roughly 10% total that we see in that 42 plus range. But for first, fifth, 12th, and 24th, I have those ranges there. Just gives you a better idea of like what we're building towards, what do we need for our lineups to be consistently, and how do those different builds, like when we see that 55 point week, like pretty much we have to have that guy. What are builds that we have to create to account for those guys that can randomly go off for 55? So this is really interesting. A lot of good information came out of this. Hope you guys enjoy that. And I did the same thing for the week 17 study. Wanted to see what are those common point ranges that we see in week 17, both first, fifth, 12th, and 24th. So as we're drafting, we have these different frequency of points in our head and are looking at player profiles that can fit this criteria. Because in best ball, we all know to actually take down the big money, that happens by having these guys show up in week 17. So we need to be drafting profiles that can actually put up these point ranges, that have the potential to do this, both based on skill set and opportunity and coaching, like all the different variables that go into it. We want to look for profiles that can hit these thresholds. I also did a team by team breakdown for every single team, looking at all their offseason moves and draft, all that good stuff, coaching, have breakdowns throughout every single team page. It's very in depth. One of the cool things here, we're going to jump into tools for you guys. We'll actually jump into that next so I don't lose you all. But I've put out projections for each position. So this is their 2025 fantasy points for each position, QB, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. I have the percent changes that I put in for each team that are showing here. See where they were ranked the previous year, where I have them ranked this upcoming year with the percent changes that I put in there. But I also have this built for you guys where you can put in your own projections. You can see what they did in 2025. You can put in your own percent change. You can see what they're going to do. And then from there, you can actually extrapolate that down to assigning percentages to players on that specific team and then building rankings from there. So we'll dive into that next. But on each team page, you have all the fantasy relevant players. Anybody that's getting drafted in best ball is going to show there. Again, you can go straight to their profiles from here. You can see where I have them ranked versus where DK and Underdog has them ranked. Has their best ball playoff schedule, and you can jump around on any of these two. So we can jump down to playoff schedule. This tab works to go anywhere. This is based off of PFF grades. It's a variant off of theirs, but it's showing you how they graded last year in each category. So pass offense, pass blocking, receiving, run game. See where they ranked last year in each spot. And then I think that's a really good building block as you guys are coming in here and you're using these tools and this information to build out your own best ball rankings and to build your own DFS lineups, especially for best ball. Like seeing where they were last year and then taking all their offseason moves. We got our signings down here, their draft picks, and who left in free agency or retired, as well as their coaching changes. We got a breakdown of that. But I went through and I did a big analysis. So I summarized the big offseason moves for each team. Then in the team analysis, I go into what I think it means. What does it mean for each player? What do I think it means for the offense as a whole? What does it mean for the overall team? Like when we look at best ball and we look at DFS, there's so many variables that go into every single week. It all trickles down from the front office, getting all the players there, but then the coaching staff, the dynamics between all the players, the play calling, injuries, all of that makes a huge difference. And so with this, me trying to do my best interpretation of what I see are the likely outcomes based on everything they've done in the offseason and what it means for their projections this year. One of the things we all need to remember when we're talking best ball and DraftKings, and we'll talk about this a lot in a lot of videos moving forward, but what someone did last year doesn't get us any points this year. Obviously, those are great indicators on future performance, but it's not the only indicator. We want to be looking ahead and try to find that edge, the angle that people aren't seeing that is obvious and hidden, but we're going to pull it out and find what that means for each team. And then I have specifically what I'm doing for each team with my best ball strategy, talking about each player who I expect to be ahead on, behind on, and how I think it sets up for every single player on that team that's relevant in best ball. So 32 team profiles, very in-depth, spent, hundreds of hours, honestly, putting this together, just the team portion. To me, this is where you got to start when you're really trying to be competitive in best ball. You've got to dive down into the overall tapestry of the league and of each individual team and try to play through different scenarios on how the season is going to play out based on that information. So let's jump over to the tools that I'm really excited for y'all. This is the DraftKings version. There's one both for DraftKings and for Underdog. But we'll start with the Ravens. It has what I have in there for my team projections and then just default percentages in here. But I think that the Ravens are probably going to have a bounce back year. They had a tough year last year with Lamar being hurt a lot of the year, and it seems like there's tension between him and Harbaugh. But they got Declan Doyle coming in, and Jesse Minter is the head coach. Declan Doyle is the offensive coordinator. I expect big things from the Ravens. We're going to dive into a lot of this. So I'll get a little distracted with the football talk instead of talk about the website here. But when we look at this page, you can play around with these percentages. You can just type in different percentages, whatever you want. That's going to change their 2026 projection. You can see how that has them ranked with everybody else in 2026 based on your adjustments. You can do that for every position. And then you scroll down and you can see anybody that is being drafted currently is shown on this list. And then you can allocate percentages from those points from the team to different players across the board. And then the really cool part, Zay's obviously not going to get 66%. Default there is a little high, but I think he's going to have a really big year. And we need to crank up the points here for these guys. But you can see you can allocate all those points across the board and start to see what that actually means in fantasy points for these players. Then from there, we can go over to the rankings builder. And you have the option to just build rankings directly from your projections. So if you go through and you do all 32 teams projections, and then you click this, it's just going to bust out rankings for you. And then you can export those directly to DraftKings. And then on the Underdog one, you can do the same thing for Underdog. You can put those directly in DraftKings and be drafting with your rankings. And then if you don't want to do it from projections, you just want to go off of here and put guys where you want to put them. You can drag guys where you want to put them. You can do this by position, or you can do it by all, or you can go in and you can type where you want them to be re-ranked at. And you can save different versions. So you can put different dates and things on this on when you had these rankings, if you want to revert back to rankings at some point. But you can constantly play around with this. And when you're logged in, all of this is just going to go back to where you had it last anytime you log into the site. This is your site to build your rankings and have your interpretation of all this data. Like I said, I'm consuming way too much content. I've spent way too much time diving into every single player, and I have strong opinions that I'm excited to share with you all over the next few months as we go through best ball season. And I put out videos every day. I'm very excited to talk about all those takes. But I want to have that humility of understanding that like there's a lot of things that I still don't know despite having all that information. So what I want for y'all is to take all the information you have, and I want you to draft with conviction, draft based on all this evidence that you put together, and use these tools to then draft from your rankings. But then as a community within our Discord, which we go back to the homepage, when you get signed in, you can go to the Discord here, and we have the Maniacs Discord up and running. That's where I want to have a lot of these conversations. I want you guys to change my mind on players and vice versa, because I want us Maniacs to be teams or people that are making money in DFS and best ball. I want a Maniac to take down the 3 mil on DraftKings this year. That's the whole point of this. Like, let's enjoy talking about football. Let's enjoy obsessing over best ball and and DFS. But let's get some W's too. Let's put some money in our pocket while we're having a good time talking football along the way. One more tool I want to show you is player compare tool. So I actually have this pulled up while I'm drafting. If I'm at a spot where I'm trying to decide between a few guys. So we'll just do the top running backs here. You can type in any player's name. As you can see, side by side, you can go through, look at some of their advanced analytics, just their overall 2025 production, side by side, and see if you see anything here that jumps out to you that indicates, yeah, this is a guy that's going underdrafted, or this guy needs to be ahead of this guy. I think this is a really great way when you're building your rankings to pop over here and compare notes on everybody and make evidence-based decisions to help you build the best rankings possible and give us the best chance of taking down that 3 mil for best ball millionaire this year. My friends, like I said, I am so hyped to be here talking with y'all, to officially try to make this my career. Put in a lot of work into building this for y'all, but I could not be more excited. Thanks, my friends. Hope you all sign up on the website. I'll see you all in the Discord, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks, my friends. We'll talk to you soon.